Life can be so good and wonderful and fun and happy and full of gratitude and joy. And you get to choose. You get to choose if that's the life you want to live or not.
Whatever the obstacle is, you will absolutely get through it. Like you either get to be the victim or the victor. So it's your choice.
It's easy to get, influenced by friends or news or whatever is out there and allow that to cloud your own desires and judgment and path that you truly want to take. So I would say to try and push all of that to the side and really follow what it is that is like burning within you and within your soul.
Hey guys, it is Alison. I am the host of your show, Alison Answers Mission Awake. I cannot wait to sit down with you today and go over how we are going to crush the mediocrity in your life that has been plaguing our society since the beginning of time. I cannot wait to have a real deal conversation that includes intelligence, fun, excitement, and real actionable steps to make a real difference in the life that you're living now and making it into something you can be damn proud of and excited to live. Sit down, put on your damn seatbelt, and get ready for the ride of your life. Hey guys, how are you today? This is Alison from Alison Answers and Lager Counseling Services. Today is going to be so much fun. This is an unusual podcast and you're going to love it. I have invited three badass women, three women who are not only my friends, they are Arete members. And if you're not aware of the Arete Syndicate, it is a business group that I am in that is founded and run by Andy Frisilla and Ed Milet. None other than those goats are in charge of teaching us how to be better humans, better entrepreneurs, better just about at everything, learning how to run a business, learning how to run at all different levels of business. But besides that, who these women have become in my life, they've become my confidants. They become my belly laugh. They have become the women that I have grown so close to over the years being in Arete and going to events and seeing them. They live in different areas of the country. They have different businesses, but we are so close. And what I thought would be so much fun was to bring them on because what we talk about are things that I wish someone helped me with when I was in my 20s, when I was in my, struggling in different kinds of things in life. So the reason I brought them on is so that they could talk about raw shit, things in life that a lot of women won't even ask another woman, a lot of things that people may not talk about. And we're just going to have a real heart-to-heart conversation regarding all sorts of things. Who knows where it'll go because it's just going to be a natural conversation, but about business, about being a mom and also running a business, about being in relationships, about dating, about sex, about body image, insecurity, whatever it is that, all the different things that come up for us as women, we're going to try and hit that. And we're going to do what we're going to hit the ground running. We have a lot of fun together. Then the other thing we're going to do is we're going to go have a weekend together at a designated place where we're going to then hit the streets and we're going to ask people out on the street, what is your problem? Which is my upcoming TV show. And on that show, the main point is to show the lighter side of therapy, the lighter side of mental health, the part in that all of us are not really grasping is that we can bring things that feel hyper intense down to almost the level of laughter. And we can actually enjoy our lives. What I have found in the mental health field is that people are labeled and then they become that label. Whatever we say we are, we are. What I would like to do is change the face of mental health across the board and show people a lighter side. So I'm going to go out there and ask people their problems. And whatever problem comes up, it's okay, because then maybe we'll laugh about it on the street or we'll talk about, what it's like for them. But then I'm going to come on the show and I'm going to talk about real tried and true ways to get out of those symptoms and then step on the gas and create the life you want. So instead of it being this heavy thing, mental health has become part of pop culture, but it's thrown around way too easily. And everybody wants a diagnosis. And when we add a diagnosis to our life, just like when we say, I am, whatever it is, we say everything after I am identifies us. So what I want you to just think about, and I really hope you'll tune in and do all the shenanigans that I'd love for you to do. I also am going to ask you, this is my ask, please, would you just get onto my YouTube channel, Alison Answers, and would you please just subscribe, like, comment, anything like that would really mean a lot to me. It would help my use of YouTube. So many people listen to this podcast, but my YouTube channel is like, like a dead thing because I don't have the time to do it because I'm running these logger counseling services and, running all these locations and trying to be a mom of 4. And even though they're grown, I got 3 dogs, I got a lot going on. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Being a woman in business, being a woman dating, being a woman, a widow. I have a friend coming on. She's also a widow. It's just going to be really good conversation. So, stick by till the end. Okay. Because at the end of this podcast, I'm going to give you guys a mini meditation. And I think you'll really benefit from it. Okay, hold on. Here they come. Hey, guys. How are you today? It is Alison from Alison Answers and Logger Counseling Services. As I mentioned, these are my chicks. These are the women that I would probably tell them anything. And I'm not sure if they would tell me everything. We're going to find out today. Do you think they will? Okay. So now let's go around the room and I'm going to introduce each one of my dear friends and remember what the main goal is. Ladies, are you all up for helping any woman out there deal with their raw shit in their life that could possibly be making them feel less than in their body, their mind, their spirit, their work, their relationships, dating, men, whatever the hell it is, that we're here to share our raw stuff and the things that we've worked through and are still working through so that you guys can have some encouragement and feel like you're not alone. And that's one of the benefits I really have from having these women in my life. We live in different states, each of us. But one of the things about us is that I don't think we miss a beat. Like I could tell them anything. Maybe it's just me. I don't know. Maybe I'm just really messed up and I could just tell them anything and maybe, who knows, maybe I can't. But they are the most incredible women. And if you guys have anybody like that in your life, hang on to them because it doesn't matter where they live. And it doesn't, for some reason, it works for us, doesn't it?
It does. We haven't seen each other in months now, and it just feels like we just belong together.
We do. We belong together. Okay, so we'll start with you, my dear sweet Kayla. Would you introduce yourself and just give a brief about you, just a quick about you?
Sure. So I'm 36.
Tell them your full name.
Okay, my name is Kayla Soul. I'm 36 years old. I have 6 children. I happen to have 4 who were brought to me through adoption and 2 biological children. I run a social services company in Arizona, and we deal with parenting, addiction services, mental health, all types of things like that. And my company is about 95% women.
Wow, awesome. So could you just say one thing that you just currently have overcome that you might be have struggled with as a woman in business or as a mom of a lot of kids or anything like that?
Yeah. Well, only one thing, Alison, that's really hard.
All right. So, I know it's ridiculous. I'll come back to you. List 3 to 10 and then do you have one? What's your problem?
No, what's my problem? Well, I mean, I can tell you I've been through divorce. I've been through my children going through some trauma and abuse and struggles as an entrepreneur, tons of struggles with that and going through being a single mom and trying to run a business and trying to be the best mom that I can be. It's a lot. Yeah.
And you know what I just want to mention about that when we go around the room here is that the reason that these women are on here is because they're the same. We're all the same as everyone else that has all these different kinds of struggles, trauma, different things in our lives. But one of the things that I can say about these women is that they overcome and that there's for all of us, there's no other option but to succeed. but to learn from the difficulties of our life. And that's why I have these women here to share that with you, that you're not alone and that you can make it through. There's always a solution. So let's go to Ari. Ari?
All right, so introduce myself. I'm Ari. Last name is Witt. I am based here in Orange County, California, and I run a design agency, Digital Nomad Designs, and we do UX design and development for people with e-com sites or regular websites. And then I've also recently launched the MVP of an app in the Apple Store that is based around travel for people who can work from anywhere in the world. And besides that, I love travel and I love jujitsu. So that's kind of sums me up.
I love jujitsu. And you are currently single, right?
No, actually, not as of like 2 weeks ago.
Oh my God.
I have a boyfriend now.
You have a boyfriend?
I know. I know.
Okay.
Yeah,
Are we allowed to talk about it publicly?
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay, good. Then he's a good boyfriend. Okay, so then okay. Laura.
Okay, I am Laura Dutra, and I live in Franklin, Tennessee, which is just outside of Nashville. Mom to one little kiddo. And I think when most people ask, like, what do you do? It's really, really difficult to kind of say in an entrepreneurial space what I do, because I kind of was tossed that role. I would never like asked for it. But our main company, we have a lot of UX and design technology patents, and I basically just manage them and make sure that they're still creating income for my daughter and I. Aside from that, my career and my job is being a mother. Like I always tell people, that's my job. It pays no money, but that's what I do every single day.
Yeah, I love that. And
So,
how was it tossed to you? So it's not created by you, the business?
yeah, it wasn't creating me. I mean, I was in the background for a lot of it for 10 years. When my husband passed away, it was just, those were his companies. That's how a large portion of our income was created. And then it was, well, now you've inherited this for you and your daughter, and you've got to make this work.
Yeah, that's quite a thing to have to do, to take over something that, that someone else built. And that's incredible. I did mention in the intro that, I'm a widow and that you're a widow. So it's like, that's a different kind of life experience. So we have kind of like 3 different kind of relational life experiences here, right? It'll be cool to talk about it. So what would you say for you, Ari, is like one of your main struggles, or something like, the show that we're about to do on TV is, what's your problem? Mm-hmm. So I want to know what your problem is, and how you're dealing with it, and how you overcome it.
How I'm dealing with, okay, so there's a few problems. I think one of them is, I guess the overarching problem is like patience and dealing with and being patient in the process. So like I have all these, long-term goals, and it is just the process of like knowing that they're in the works, but like just being patient in the process. And I think just trusting the process. I guess that's what I deal with a little bit right now. Like there's certain things that I want done now with like our app launch. And I feel like I've talked about it a lot with like friends and family, but it's not to a point where I want it to be. There's other things like more personal things that I want like now, but I know that it just takes it's a process, whether that's like eventually having family or things like that. Like I know that that's just something I have to there's a process for it. So
it's interesting, because I appreciate you saying that, because I think that can be part of, for me, like a big struggle. Like when, I love that quote, I lay hold of my vision, obstacles must give way. But when we, I think all of us are visionaries. Like we see success, we see things, like everywhere we are, we're seeing the next level. So I just recently heard something, because I'm in a book club with the Emily Frisilla, Freedom Reads. And one of the things we're reading is Indistractable. And one of his points is just incredible. And I love the way he put it, but he says that we should just give up. Sounds so dark. Give up being content, because I am right behind this. I get it now that as growing organisms, he doesn't say it this way, but as growing organisms, if we are, imagine what would happen if we're content. That's the thing that's the whole thing I'm shouting from the rooftops about being in mediocrity. That is when you stop growing.
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys feel that way too? Like that urgency and then like it's not happening fast enough?
Yeah, it's weird, just to jump in real quick, because like I really do love the process of getting to like a goal or whatever. Sometimes I love it more than actually getting there. But there's still that like just the impatience and urgency to get there. I don't know. It's like a battle of like, okay, I do like looking back on things, I do enjoy that whole process of getting there, but in the moment I want to get there. I don't know if that makes sense.
No, I know what you mean. And do you ever worry that it won't happen?
Like I think it's a natural there's a natural concern there, but I try not to let that get in the way. I feel like if there's something that I have a desire for, it's there for a reason. So I feel like it's going to happen.
I really believe that. I believe if we have a desire, it's there for a reason. It's like the inside an apple seed that's going to grow into an apple tree. It's like, well, that data is in there for a reason, right?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like as entrepreneurs, we're so focused on the what we want to have happen, what our vision is, it's not even a vision, it's like reality, what our reality is going to look like.
Yeah.
For me, the how is almost irrelevant. And I think sometimes my team gets frustrated with me because I'm like, we'll just figure it out. We just need to make it happen. The what is going to happen. Let's just make the what come true right now, and I guess it's maybe I never really considered it to be a lack of patience. But yeah, that process for me is so it's just an obstacle. It's no big deal. It doesn't matter what it looks like. It doesn't matter how hard it is. It's just something we're going to overcome to get to the what. And I think that's frustrating for people working with visionaries or working with entrepreneurs, is the how sometimes gets brushed over or seen as irrelevant when it's actually really important.
You know what's incredible? I think that it can make us look like flighty, but we're not. We see it, we know it's happening, and it's just that's it. And it's like, and it does when someone's like, well, what about this? I'm like, okay, we'll fix that. What are you going to do? What about it? What are we going to do what are you going to do to make it happen? Like, it's almost like that power move of a decision is so powerful. That definiteness of purpose creates stuff. And I think anybody who's listening, who is struggling with anything, it doesn't matter what it is. I'm even telling myself this because it's probably, how like you guys, like, don't you think we can be strong in one area and be like super confident? We see that vision and then maybe it could be in another area. I see this a lot with women and relationships or in dating, right? That it's like, okay, I know that I can conquer this in terms of, like, whatever it is, like business or even with my kids. But sometimes, in relationships, things that involve other humans, like what do you think for you guys?
You mean like in relationships that
is there an area in your life that you don't feel as certain about? I mean, you may just feel certain about it, but is there any area that you just know, like, in business, but maybe you don't know in some other area, maybe with your kids or with dating or whatever?
Okay, I think I see what you mean. So it's kind of like we like to have control and prediction and excitement about our outcomes, but what about the things we can't control in regards to the outcome?
Well, it could be that, but you know what? Really, I believe we can actually control a lot of the outcomes with our belief system, but sometimes that, like, for example, we could like call things into our life, but then you'll notice anything that you don't like that's coming in or not coming in, it's usually because we don't feel worthy of it. Like, that's how I look at it. I'm like, oh, like I have this, and this, but then this is like a clunker. I'm like, well, there must be something happening inside of me that I'm not aligning with a higher level, whatever it is. Do you know what I mean by that?
For me, being a mother, that's something that I feel like I have a lot of control over how I show up as a mom. Am I listening? Am I present? Am I available? Am I showing love and attention and helping them feel accepted? And maybe I'm doing my absolute best at those things, and maybe it's just not good enough sometimes. And it's difficult to not feel like a failure. And, when I see my kids either achieving things or not achieving things, it's difficult to not reflect on my own actions. Am I doing everything possible? Is this just who they are, or am I not doing something right as a mother to control that outcome? That's probably the most frustrating thing for me, that is different than work. When it comes to work, you put in the work and you usually have the outcome that you want. But with other humans, relationships, whether it's my kids or romantic relationships, you put in the work and sometimes you don't always get the outcome that you want.
Yeah, that's exactly what I meant. Just like, because we can have confidence. A lot of times you'll see women who are really successful, they'll have confidence in that area, but you can also see, and I don't see you as insecure, but there's that other element where sometimes women, feel really insecure, or they'll get in bad relationships, even though they're successful in so many other areas of their life. But the thing that you were just saying about being a mom, I think that's so interesting. And it brings me to another thought about us, and just being an entrepreneur, is that we're so, trained, or whatever it is, like we're just conditioned to everything's our fault. And I don't mean that in a negative way, extreme ownership. Like anything that happens in my business is my responsibility, no matter, even if it's the other person made a mistake. And I feel that way, even in my family, or just anything that's in my life belongs to me. So, and it doesn't mean that somebody else's behavior, I caused it, but I'm always seeing things like that. So it reminds me of what you're saying. And like our kids could just have this other element where they're looking through a lens of something completely different. And it doesn't matter what we're doing or saying, they can only see it through that one lens. It could be a lens of rejection. I see it like in business and at work. Like if somebody comes in who works for me and they are like, I always ask in an interview, what is like the one thing that really bothers you in your life? What is the one thing that pisses you off? I ask them questions, and inevitably they at some point see through that lens in work. I always, what pisses me off is I feel excluded. And then you see 2 years later that they're always mad that they feel excluded. Right? It's just interesting. And it's not anybody doing it to them. So I want to ask Laura, like, what would you say is like an area of your life that really challenges you?
Yeah, I think the one thing that's really challenging in going back to achieving the goals, or the way we try to maybe make the success happen, is the difference in doing it in business, and you're mostly dealing with adults versus doing it as a mother. And maybe some of that is the maturity of a child. My daughter, she's 7, and the wins are so, I hate to say this, they're so small when you're a mother. It's like she just brought me a gift that she wrapped for a birthday party tomorrow. And to her, she just won the lottery, right? But to me, and me too, to some degree, like she did that all by herself. But in business, if you had an employee bring you the same thing, you may not even bat an eye. So constantly, having to put your hat on and off, on and off, on and off constantly all day long is a huge struggle for me. And then also just staying in the general world, being feminine and not trying to control the situation or make it this or have this outcome, just enjoying, or even saying, I'm in the hallway right now and this is what I'm doing. I need to be in the hallway in order to get to the light at the end of the tunnel. Like we can't get there if we don't hang out in this hallway for whatever period of time we need to be here. That is a huge struggle, because I've seen so many times you get in the hallway and you get to the very end and then there's the light, and it's amazing. It's great. It's euphoria. So why are we going to hang out here for so long? Well, because we need to, but it's the impatient part that we have to be there.
Yeah.
That's a huge struggle. Just knowing that the good is coming, but you've got to like have the patience and wait and get there when it's supposed to happen.
I love that, because I'm thinking about, there's two things. I would love for you to, expand on what you were just saying about the struggle with going back and forth, with your daughter and work. But the thing that you were saying about that, the hallway, I feel like, how like in the struggles of business or anything, like I think with my own kids or just things that are really hard, I have to remind, and when I feel myself get overwhelmed, that's a big thing for me. Like things feel bigger. Like I'll see everything instead of just breaking it down into one thing and deal with that. But I feel like every struggle that we have is, I'm seeing that that's when, like at work or, with a business, a baby system is born. But it's the same thing like with relationships. Like it's like everything is growing and learning. So like when things feel really badly for me, I'm always thinking like, oh, I must be learning something. There's a deeper depth of something here. And what is it? Like, what am I, like zoom out? The concept that like our mind measures, judges and compares, and our soul observes. So like to zoom out and be a wise observer so that we feel better and can see the growth, right, in the hallway. So I guess I'm not cutting out the hallway thing. You know what I meant? So tell us more what you meant, Lara, because when you were saying just like going back and forth, could you just tell us, it was profound what you were talking about.
I mean, I think for my situation, my day-to-day is literally all day going between mom, because I also homeschool my daughter. And so we're together all day long. Like it is very rare. I do have help and I do, we do separate things, and then I also have emails and calls and things. So it's a constant of dealing with adults that are being paid. And in my mind, they know what they're supposed to be doing. Like there is a high expectation for them. And I'm not going to clap and, do all these wonderful things just because they're doing what they're being asked of. Now, with a 7-year-old, that's a very different story because they're learning and I need to do it in a way that is still honoring her little spirit as a child. Like I can't crush that because she voluntarily swept up her mess that she made. Like that has to be hugely applauded. And so I think that is just like a constant struggle. It's something that I'm always thinking, could I do it better like this? Like every single situation when I'm constantly going between the two, I always think, could I have done that differently? Could I have made that better? Could I have gotten a better result from X, Y, and Z? And I think that's just something that, you have inside of you. Either things are good enough or you always want them better. It's just a personality trait, I think.
Yeah. And I think it's really because you're a person who's a lifetime learner and grower. That would be the right. I mean, I do the same thing. How could I have done that differently or better? I think it's a great thing to do, but it can also be difficult to always be in that thinking, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's a struggle and it gets exhausting to some points because you kind of think like, can this just be like good enough? Like
yes.
Everybody else, like we recently moved to a house. And I'm looking at, what is her playroom and I'm thinking, oh, this is crap. But somebody else might walk in and think it's absolutely fabulous. And how dare you call it junk or crap or whatever. But I nitpick it apart and think, well, we can fix this and let's do this. And like, if we did this, that would be great. And I think that is literally just a personality trait of individuals, or it's something that they somehow pick up. Maybe they experience trauma and they don't want to live in that trauma and then that victimhood. So then they flip it and they become the victor. And I think that's just something that like, it's innate, like you cannot turn it on and off. And it just becomes part of who you are.
No, it's interesting. I think it depends on what kind of like psychic pain it causes, if it does, if it's causing like difficulty, or if it's because you have this great vision and you're loving doing it. It's like different ways of looking at the playroom, right? Because to me,
I mean, I think
go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I think it's just no matter how good something can be, I think not most of us, but a lot of us would say this can still have 1% improvement, like just ourselves. Like we're never going to be perfect, right? We're never going to have like you'll never weigh the weight you want to weigh. Maybe your nose is always going to look like whatever it is. But you always still have like that aspiration to do the 1% more. Like, could I just do 1 more %? And I think that's what it like kind of, that's the foundation of it is you always look at, I can do 1% more or 1% better. Always, always, always. It never ends. And it's almost like a happy high versus an exhausting high.
Yeah.
And you flutter in between back and forth.
I think that's cool because that's almost like, if you think about it, in Arete, that's everything about what we do, or this entrepreneurial like way, this personal development. It's like, it's always like, how can I improve every day? And it's, as long as like, because you mentioned the thing about like even just the way we look, that's such a female struggle. So it depends. If we're looking that, oh, I can always do better, that's like exciting growth. But if it's always like, what's wrong with me? Like, where does it come from? And do you guys ever like struggle with insecurity, like with, physicality, or like the way you look, or your body image? Do you guys ever struggle with any of that? I'll let Ari talk.
I think
Ari's a fitness check. We all are. But anyhow, yeah. Ari?
No, I think everyone does, for sure. It's like I can feel like I'm doing everything right in terms of like health and physique, and I'll still find something that I'm like, oh, I should be doing more of this so that I can fix this. Yeah, it's definitely a constant cycle. But I mean, I personally don't let it ever get to a point where it's like taking over my thoughts, because I also do recognize that I do recognize that, like, for me, it's like my athleticism is what I take a lot of pride in, and I feel like I do a pretty good job of that. So I try to remind myself of that, but it definitely is a cycle. There's a little bit of a cycle there of like not being always finding something that can be better, physical wise.
But when you look in the mirror, does it ever bother you?
I mean, if I'm being honest, yeah, there's definitely times where I'm like, oh, this could be better for sure. But I mean, I don't let it,
you don't let it take
get to
over.
an unhealthy place,
Yeah. It's like, what about you, Kayla?
I was just thinking, this is so strange. This seems to be such a female problem.
Yeah, it is.
Maybe I have this problem too. I don't know, but it seems to be such a female problem to be so overly concerned with the way that we look.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so strange. I have to give a lot of credit to my mom in the way that she raised me. She never really gave me a lot of physical praise as far as like, my body or anything like that. And so the way I grew up, I was always very secure about my body. And I remember being in high school and I was sitting in my girlfriend's room and she's like, oh my gosh, look at my flabby stomach, or the roll on my stomach, or something like that. And it's not flat. And I remember thinking, wait, is that something I should worry about? Am I supposed to have a flat stomach? Like, should this be something I don't know. I've never looked at my stomach. Is it not flat? And that was the first time that like that I can remember that an insecure thought came about my physical body. And that is just so strange to me that I mean, obviously we all struggle with those things, but like it has to come from somewhere. And like, where do we start that process of like not loving the way that our body is, or not taking care of ourselves? I don't know.
Yeah, mine absolutely started when I was like, for me, it was when I was growing up. My sister, I hope they won't watch this. My sister is like super book smart, school smart, all of that, and would always get praised for great, like, tests and grades and all of that. And I was like an average student in terms of like book smart. But I found that when I was involved in sports and like running and even extracurriculars, like that's how I would get praise. And I even find myself still now where I'm like, feeling the need to like tell them about my accomplishments in terms of like physical or athleticism related like topics.
Wow.
So.
It's so true that it all comes from somewhere. When I think it was like 9 or 10 years old, and there's probably a lot more to it, that this girl who's just a neighbor, she said, oh, you have fat thighs. I felt like I had fat thighs forever. I don't feel it now, but I always felt it. It just never went away, that belief. And also, just to throw this out there, just for anyone who's listening, I mean, it's in my book and it's just like public knowledge now, but basically, as a child, I was sexually abused. So what ends up happening is you end up learning certain things about your body that you would not have learned if it hadn't happened. So then the importance, there's so many different ways it can go. Just your body absorbs the shame. You feel like you always look ugly or dirty or whatever that is. I developed an eating disorder. So my body image was, I was plagued with, I was hospitalized for an eating disorder, in my early 20s for 28 days because I could not tell what I looked like, binging, purging, starving, all of that. And it's insanity. You feel like you will never get better ever. So if anyone's listening, I'm here to tell you, you can get better and you can actually live a normal life and have a good body and feel good about yourself. And when I say good body, I mean a good body for you. So it's not a life sentence that it feels like it is. But and also we live in a society that communicates constantly about the way we're supposed to look, and it's ever changing. So like originally fashion buying and merchandising, that was my first field. I was taught that that our purpose was to make people feel uncomfortable in what they're wearing so they'd buy something else. So basically that is the premise. So now like our bodies are our bodies are really consistently under scrutiny. We're told to eat tons of food, all different food that's bad for us, and be perfect looking in our body. So it's like, it's an eating disordered society, right? So it's very hard to escape it. There's nothing like feeling confident. Nothing. Right?
I agree.
Laura, what's your experience with that?
Well, I mean, we could do a whole podcast for a year every day on that topic as far as it relates to my life. Yeah, I would say probably only recently, and it's a very odd thing that it's only since my husband's death have I realized like my body is probably the best it's ever been. And I'm not just saying from a physical standpoint, but from a mental standpoint in terms of me saying, I like this and like, I think this is great. Mm-hmm. Which is a really odd place to be single, widowed, and a mom. And I think being a mom is a huge part of it. Like, I don't ever want, I have to like just be the example, basically. That's all I ever think of when I think of like how I feel about myself. But I mean, yeah, there's tons of times where I think, gosh, I need to fix this and I could do this. I just had a conversation, kind of somewhat of an argument about regular girls being critical of themselves because of OnlyFans girls. And OnlyFans is so prevalent and it's everywhere. And it's like, no big deal. And it's like, oh, everybody's, all these girls are on it and all these guys are on it. And I had a very different opinion about it, I think, than a lot of women do. And it's tied to, not every sex worker is doing it willingly. But anyway, that's a different subject.
I'm
but
completely against that shit.
Yeah, I mean, that's a different and then it also, as a parent, is like, is that really what you would want your child to aspire to be? So like, why would you consume that and spend your money on that? I mean, it's just a whole thing, right? But I had that conversation with a man and he was like, well, don't be so critical of your body. And it's like, well, how can you not ask me to not be critical when you are somewhat saying I'm comparing apples to apples, but really when I look, it's not apples to apples. It's an apple to an orange. And you're really wanting an apple, but you're settling for an orange. Like, please don't do that. Please go get your apple if that's something you're capable of doing.
Yes. I understand that.
Yeah. And so, I mean, I think that's just a cultural thing that's happening right now, is that it's constantly being pushed in men's faces. And I've heard it talked on other podcasts and in books where it's just a constant like push, almost to the point where they aren't even looking for it. So I think that's just, natural that we're going to look at ourselves and compare. But honestly, in the last like 3 years is the first time I've really felt like, and I've been hospitalized for eating disorders. I've weighed 300 pounds twice. And so it's a weird thing to be an adult and be like, this is okay. Like, yeah, I'm going to go to Great Wolf Lodge today in a bikini and it's awesome. Like there's no things that you got to pick apart or, it's just a weird thing to be, have that healthy mental state about your body. Because I don't think a lot of women have it. I mean, it's really difficult, I think, for most women to live in that state.
I would say the majority of women don't have a
Uh-huh.
full sense of confidence. But if you think about anything after the words I am identifies us, right? So if we can get to the place where in our inner world, we really, really feel and we are beautiful to ourselves, it's amazing, how, and then we just carry that. It's like we're radiant, right? And I don't think
Yeah, I
a
think
lot
others
of men
will.
care as much as we think they do, you know? But so if we were to like segue into, because I want you guys to talk about men a little bit, because I know we have a hard stop. You know what's funny? If we were literally sitting around at a table, we'd be acting differently. It's like we're kind of separate in these little boxes. It just doesn't make sense. So we have to just get to our little getaway together. So I can hold your hands and touch you.
Allison,
Right?
I have to say about confidence.
Oh,
So,
do it. Yeah.
concentrating and like focusing on this lately. And for me, I've noticed that when I reflect back on times in my life when I've been the most confident and I've just felt the most secure, it's because I've put in the work to create momentum in that. It's not just one thing that happens and I'm like, oh, I look good today. I'm confident today. Or, oh, I had a great workout. I'm so confident about my athletic abilities. It's like those stackable wins
Yes.
that I guess are just like the patterns that create the momentum. And that momentum is when I feel the most confident.
I love that you said that, because I wasn't going to say this on the recording, but I'm going to say it, that basically what really changed my life was years ago. I just started saying in my mind, because I was so hard on myself and my body, even though, my body was pretty good, but I was so hard on myself that I just decided to just start saying something like wrote. And I said it for so long that I even forgot I was saying it. It was part of like my loop in my brain. And it actually just started, it created a confidence. And what I would say is, I am long, lean, tight, and smooth. And I said it all the time. And I just would say it in my mind. And I would say, like, when I would walk in a room, I just would say it. It became like such a habit, but because I believe that the way we think creates things. And it's almost like I just started to become it or believe that I'm it. And then I just was it. It was so weird. So I know what you're talking about. And just also showing up and taking care of your body makes such a difference. Like working out to me is it improves confidence so much, right?
I think we've all done 75 hard.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So we all
Let's
know.
we should do it again. You want to all do it together?
I'm on it right now.
You are?
Yes.
Maybe oh yeah, that's right. I think I knew it.
I'm
Yeah.
on day 40 right now.
What day?
Day 40.
Oh my God. I'm 30. I'm so many days behind you because I didn't even start. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's like it's a great program for increasing confidence, because like to me, confidence comes from like from keeping promises to yourself. And that's like that's 75 hard is a way that you're literally keeping, what is it, 5 or 6 promises to yourself every single day for 75 days in a row.
Yeah. It's really true. It is so good. Yeah. So what were you were gonna say something, Ari? Were you?
That's what I was gonna say.
That was it? Oh, I thought you were gonna say another thing.
I did message you. I can go a little bit longer.
Okay. So do you want to so you guys want to just say something about like relationships with men? It could be what's currently happening, it could be any of your struggles, just something that what you've learned, wisdom, or anything that you're having a hard time with, because all of that is new for me with the dating and all of that. So I find it interesting. I'd love to hear from you guys. Tell us, Ari. I can see your face.
Yeah, I'll go. So something that like this whole year has been super interesting with there's a breakup right in the start of the year, and then there was time on my own. There's a little bit of dating, and then now it's a relationship that I'm really excited about. And it's like what's been interesting with this relationship from the dating to now being official is like I've been so excited to step more into like like more feminine, and like that sounds like so like it should be so obvious, but it's something that I like didn't really think that much about before in my previous relationships. And it's been like it just like feels like a weight off my shoulder. Like it feels more natural to me to like be in a relationship where I can let them like lead things and where it was a little bit of the opposite previously. And I really like that. And even the time period beforehand where I was on my own and dating, on my own or dating, like I feel like I learned a lot about myself during that time and like stepping more into that feminine. So that's what I'll say about that.
And Laura mentioned that before, and that was the main thing I wanted you to talk about. That I love that because you just helped me, because when I was married to my husband, I felt so feminine, even though I'm running this, this business and this, he took care of anything that was masculine, and he just took care of me. And there is so much, we're meant to be in that feminine energy. That's so good. Laura, you were saying that.
As a business, that's so hard as a business owner because, Laura, you were saying the different hats that we wear all day. Some of us wear the mom hat and we're, trying to orchestrate everything and be that empathetic person. And then we wear the business owner hat and we're trying to facilitate all these different things and work towards goals and set boundaries. And, I'd call that a more leadership-based role. And then suddenly you have to put on a different hat in the dating world. And I love, Ari, how you said you feel more like yourself. That's something I know I crave that in a relationship and you, I don't know if you guys have experienced this, but when you date different people, you experience a different version of yourself.
Yes. That's such a great quote. I mean, not a quote from you. It's a great way to look at it. You learn about you and what you want, don't want, so many things. That, Laura, you mentioned that as well about the feminine, right?
Yeah. I mean, for me, that has been a really difficult transition because when I was married, all I ever lived in was feminine from the absolute day one. Like I never had to get gas. I never had to go to the ATM. Like I was just so well cared for. And in a very naive way, when I became single, I just thought that's how men acted. I did not realize that there is this whole species of individuals that don't ever do that. They don't consider it. It's not something they were taught to do. My late husband and I were 12 years apart. So maybe that's part of it. Maybe he's, or maybe it's because he took care of his mother from a very young age. I don't know what it is, but that's been a really difficult thing for me because I'm kind of forced to live in a masculine role. I'm doing a lot to do things, to make our lives work. But then also I absolutely hate it. And a lot of times when that's something I mentioned very early on. If I meet somebody that I might want to romantically date, I immediately say, I'm a traditionalist. Do not expect me to go to work. I don't want to go to work. This is our lifestyle. And if you can, provide this kind of lifestyle, great. If not, it's not going to work. Like it's just, you're a nice person, you're good looking, but it's just not going anywhere. And this is the expectation. And it's been really difficult to navigate that, or for men to even comprehend the concept that, basically my husband, even though he's in the grave, he's still caring for us.
Yeah.
That he's still caring for us and he's also still caring for his child. That is like the most foreign concept to people. It's like you just told them that aliens came and landed and are going to put on a show. They are just like, what? And it's mostly men. They just can't, they have no freaking clue what to do with that.
Yeah.
So that's been so difficult. And I don't know if that's some of what you've experienced, Allison. And two, it's just, I've spoke to other widows and, I don't know if their situation is the same, but it's like, what do I even do with this person is how I feel, or how I feel like I'm being treated. Yeah.
I'm so glad you're saying this because I have a very similar experiences, maybe not exactly, but I was so incredibly taken care of, all of that. And there was if I even picked up the garbage, like in the kitchen,
Right.
he would like swoop in and take it from me. Like he did, like he just took care of me. No, that a woman doesn't do that. He would be mad at the man across the street who made his wife whatever, rake the leaves. He was like, what a piece of shit he is. He was just very into taking care of a woman, women and children first. He was a military man. And so I just really, yes. And I think that, but there is something that I think that I bring into dating that's a little different, is that I believe in relationships because I had one. I know that they can be great. And I know that, so I know that it can happen and it can be wonderful. It's just that I think our standards are just high, and the person doesn't have to be perfect. Right. They just, also, what I was thinking, Kayla, when you were saying the different hats, this struck me because as a mom, to be, a business owner, you're kind of like in that masculine role, kind of, but then with your kids, you're in that mom role. But then to be in a dating or available to date role, just even for them to witness, which they never had, they're not like seeing me date or anything. But if one day they did watch it, it's kind of weird because like you're in a different role in front of them, like you're not like to be in your feminine or your romantic way in front of your children. You just feel weird. But I didn't feel weird with my husband. Right. So it's interesting how, but I crave the feminine to be in that role. I'm like, I feel like men are like, you're so strong and smart and I love that about you. And I'm like, but I'm really fragile. You don't understand. I need you to take care of me. I'm overwhelmed with life. Can you just come in and just make me feel better? That's what I want. Honestly.
I do believe that real men are givers.
Yes, I do too.
And kind-hearted.
Yes.
I know that I've found in my own dating life that I'm such a people pleaser. I want everyone to be happy. I want just goodness and love and fun and I love love. And I tend to, someone had to point this out to me and it was really helpful, but I tend to please and overhelp so much that I don't allow men to be in their space of giving back and helping out because I just try to do everything. And it was kind of like, if you step back and let them serve you, you're going to feel served more and then you're going to want to give more. And I think that goes both ways in a relationship, that both people ideally will give more of themselves if they're receiving more. So that could be really beautiful.
If you even just look at, not to be graphic, but I'm going to be, you just even look at the male female body, a woman is supposed to be receptive, right? And it's like, and I feel like men get angry and maybe not know why when they feel like, let's say a woman is complaining, not angry, but upset or whatever, because it's within them. They want to give to a woman. If they feel like they're not pleasing us or creating a happy life for us, they feel bad about themselves. Right. So it's like, it's really, I think everybody feels better when we're in the right place instead of competing,
I always say the sperm goes to the egg.
There you go, man.
In a physiological sense.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. So tell me one thing about chemistry, and then I know that Ari's got to get her hair done. Okay.
That's important.
So, sorry. Do you remember when we were in St. Louis and we went and got our hair done?
Yes, it was so fun.
I know, I miss you. All right. So one thing about chemistry and relationships, because you're in a new relationship, Ari, tell us, isn't that everything? Well, not everything.
It is. Well, what about it? What do you mean? Like
you can be in a situation where it's not.
Yeah, you can be in a situation. Perfect. Yeah, where all the boxes are checked, but there's no chemistry. Which is like so weird because I don't know, there's a logical explanation to chemistry. It's like it
Yeah.
kind of just feels like it's there, it's not.
Yeah, it's just right.
Yeah.
You just
Yeah.
know. hmm
The chemistry box is definitely checked for the current
I could tell. I
relationship.
knew it by your face. I can't. I'm kind of like, I feel like on the outside of everything, like you go into the dinner and then like you have a boyfriend who
Oh.
didn't know any of this.
Oh.
Okay, fine.
So
All
it's
right.
kind of strange. So, Laura and Ali, I know, Alison, I know you guys have had your spouses pass away, and that's still like very real to you. Laura, I love the way that you explained that he's still very real in your life and in your daughter's life. That is very insightful, and I haven't had that experience, so that's something that's really difficult to understand. The person that I'm dating right now, his wife actually passed away. So what do you call a widower? What?
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, so I'm dating a widower, and I think it was like 5 years ago or 6 years ago now that she passed, and I felt like I did I'm doing a pretty good job, or I did a pretty good job of allowing her to still be an aspect in our relationship, and giving that space to her, to have her insight, I guess, into like how she loved him and how she loved their son that they had together, and like not taking over her space, but like honoring her in the relationship still. So I don't know, it's just interesting for me to come from a different perspective and see that. And I kind of did that naturally, knowing that I don't think that him and I could have a successful relationship without honoring her place as a wife and mother to them.
It's very, very true, Kayla. Like the men that I have met, there have been men who are just incredible. The honor that they have shown my late husband, just in their their conversation, like he sounds like such an incredible man. I hope that I can give to you the way that he did. Like I've had men say that, and they're like, I don't feel jealous. I understand it. Like really good guys, feeling that way and really wanting to know about him. And I think that I know I could never be with someone who was like jealous of that or made it that it couldn't be real for me, because it's just part of who we are. It's part of what brings us to them eventually, right?
So my daughter asked me, she's like, Mom, I think I had made a comment about my boyfriend's late wife, and she said, why do you say that? She's like, isn't that weird for you? Like, aren't you jealous of that? Or something that a teenager would say. And I'm like, why would that bother me, honey? Like, I'm sure he still loves her, to some degree. I'm sure he does. I said, it would be just like if one of my kids died, that would never leave my heart. I would never stop loving you. That would be insane.
Yeah.
So it's like to expect an adult to not love another adult who is lost tragically, is just crazy. That's absurd. No human could do that.
Yeah, that's really good, Kayla, that that's a gift to him.
Have you experienced that, Laura, with men being understanding of your late husband?
I think because it's on social media so much of like, I still try to talk a lot about like our relationship, and not even him as a dad, but just him as a person. People are typically like very like, wow, he sounds like a really great person. But there is like this statistic where it's easier for widowers to move on because they're going to date a woman, and women are just a little bit better at sharing the spotlight, let's call it, with somebody else, or they're understanding, or they're more compassionate. What I have found is that in the beginning, yes, they think that's great, that's awesome, that's wonderful, he sounds like a great person. And then when the male competitiveness kicks in, and it's like the everyday nooks and crannies of it. Like I can tell you, I was dating someone at the beginning of the year, and it came down to like something that had to do with money, and this person couldn't afford whatever it was. And so I just said like, oh, well, I'll just pay for whatever it is. And they immediately knew that it wasn't me paying for it. It was Stephen paying for it. And that was not okay. So in things like that, it's been an issue. And I don't have any idea how to like get around it, make it better. It just, I mean, at this point, I'm chalking it up to it is what it is. But yeah, I think if you have lost a spouse, you have to be with someone who's going to honor that person in your life and see it as this person's heart is going to grow and love me and love them just like you would if you had multiple children, and love them for the individuals that they are versus comparing them to somebody else or, you know, those kinds of things. Like you have to, or it's not going to work.
Yeah.
Right.
I think the only time that I would compare, because I believe that individuals are just completely unique, is if someone hurt me.
Oh, right.
If it hurts me, then I can almost feel my husband's anger. I can actually hear him going, fuck him. And maybe it's just in my mind, but like, if, no one should treat my woman that way. Like, I'll actually feel that, in my body, because I just know how he would be. Like, no, you're not putting up with that. Are you kidding me, Allison? You know better than that. Like, I can feel it because I just know his personality. They're like a part of us, right?
Yeah, they are.
I kind of know, like, even in relationships, we all have scripts that are programmed in our body. So even if you think about something you would say to a boyfriend or a child or something, what they're going to say back. It's in our body. So it's a way of interacting with them in a way you can actually know what they would say. It's really interesting.
Oh,
our bodies carry that information.
Yeah. The other thing I've noticed I have a picture of Steven, and I think it's also because I have a daughter and she would want a bonus dad. Like, we talk about the concept of what a bonus dad is. I've almost in the last month have just said, Steven, this is on you. If you want this man to take care of Willow and I, great. If you don't, then don't. And it's just like, it's between him and God. The two of them are together. And also Steven's dad too. Like, the three of you figure this out and then let me know, because I'm not I don't want any more part of this.
But that's kind of, you're in the feminine.
Yeah.
Again, right?
That's like, send me whoever and that'll be fine. And if you send me no one, then you send me no one. That's fine too.
Yeah. But you can hear you doing that, acquiescing to that masculine also right there. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So now what do we do? Because I know we have to close out. I have to be a respecter of time, which I've never been. So I'm going to try and do that. But I want to say something, and I don't care if it's on the podcast or not. I love you girls so much. And I feel like now that we're starting to talk, I feel like we're just getting into it. Like, I'm dying to talk to you more. Like, I feel like I need you. So I'm just thinking, I don't know, it doesn't, obviously not on a podcast unless we wanted to, but we should meet like once a month or a quarter and just on Zoom and just talk.
Like a Zoom girls date?
What'd you say?
Like a Zoom girls date, or is it a FaceTime date if you're in a long distance relationship? I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. I don't know if you guys would want to do it. So we'll discuss that off camera. So right now, is there anything that you would want to say, last words that you would want to say, let's say, to the younger you? Like, what would you want to tell a woman that was 10, 20 years, whatever, younger than you?
Okay, I'll go first. I mean, to any younger woman, whether it be 1 year, 10 years, 20 years, whatever the obstacle is, you will absolutely get through it. It could be, you think the house is burning down, which I have had that happen, and whatever, it will happen, and you will absolutely walk through it, be a better person, and it will be, you get to choose. You either get to be the victim or the victor. So it's your choice.
So true.
I would say life can be so good and wonderful and fun and happy and full of gratitude and joy. And you get to choose. You get to choose if that's the life you want to live or not. Regardless of all the things that will happen to you, whether they're voluntarily happening to you or involuntarily happening to you, that you get to choose what kind of life you get to have. And life is so much fun when we choose for it to be fun and wonderful, even when we're going through the horrible things.
So true. Love it.
That's true.
So I kind of think about like what I would say to my little sister who is in high school. And I would say it's easy to get, influenced by friends or news or whatever is out there, and allow that to cloud your own desires and judgment and path that you truly want to take. And so I would say to try and push all of that to the side and really follow what it is that is like burning within you and within your soul. Because that's there for a reason, and that's what you should do.
Love it. And my advice, or I wish what somebody would have told me is, I actually did a reel on it, a little thing, just saying that if you are dating, most women are wondering if other people like them or if their date likes them. Like, how am I doing? How do I look? What does he think of me? And there's so much self-consciousness about the other person. It's having like an external locus of control, that whatever's happening outside of here determines the how my life is. And what I want to say is, when you can switch into an internal locus of control, when you say, do I like that? Does this align with me? Is this what's best for me? We don't have to really set boundaries. All we have to do is align with ourselves, and then the boundaries are just there. So it's just natural. So I really think and I would ask everyone, I had to ask myself this question: is the room better because you're in it? And wherever you are, you belong. So like, I know that any room I walk in is better because I'm in it. And do you know that? And like I know, I would ask every one of these women, I know that the room is better when they're in it. And you want to get to a place where you really know that about yourself. And it's a wrap. Guys, thank you so much for listening to the show. I just want to say to you that we are all together a part of the Mission Awake, a mission that's going to stop the mediocrity that's plaguing all of us. So if you got something here today, I ask that you would be a part of this mission and you'd share it with whoever you can. Take a screenshot of the show and share it on your Instagram. If you are looking for me, you can find me on social media platform Instagram, Alison Answers, or Lager Counseling Services. And give us a review and subscribe, if you could, to YouTube, Alison Answers. That's where you're going to get a lot of content. I drop stuff every day, goofy stuff, all different kinds of stuff. 5-minute videos that just get you moving in your day. Have a great week. See you next time.